looks to the possibilities of the future, there are many routes for mankind to take. Some, like the Federation of Star Trek, paint humanity's future as optimistic, with humanity fully letting go of its more base urges and embracing the unknown, leading an alliance of worlds and embracing all differences. Others, such as the Systems Alliance of the Mass Effect series, show humanity stepping into the universe and attempting to gain the respect and trust of the interstellar community while fighting back against aggressive civilizations. Yet others, like the Earth Alliance of Babylon 5, after recovering from a war which almost resulted in their extinction, attempted to recover the remains of trade and commerce, before segments of society took over and formed a totalitarian regime based off isolation and xenophobia. In almost all of these possibilities there is a constant: hope, the quest for a better tomorrow, and the possibility that what one human does can change the course of humanity. This central theme is completely lost in the dystopian nightmare known as the Imperium of Man. The story of the Imperium is the dream of one man, which turned into a nightmare that he can no longer wake up from. That man, the Emperor, a being of such intense psychic might and intelligence even the gods fear, first stepped into the light during the waning days of a period known as the Age of Strife. Humanity's golden age had been shattered by the hubris of another, far older species, whose mistakes had unintentionally destroyed the previous galaxy-spanning human civilization. This species, known as the Eldar, generated intense disruptions in the subrealm of what is known as the Warp, the very subrealm which humanity and many other species use to travel faster than light. This psychic realm responded to the Eldar powerfully, causing the tides of the Warp to become unpassable, and with the rising tides of the Warp came horrific spillovers into the real space of the galaxy. This, in addition to the sudden and rampant rise of psychically gifted humans, led to the collapse of the first human civilization and over 5,000 years of isolation, regression, and the degradation of humanity. On Earth, thousands of years of progress and advancement were forgotten or completely swept away, and most of history was lost with very little surviving. Mars, long home to colonies which had taken an almost fanatical approach to preserving technology, had even wrote off the homeworld as completely lost. Instead, the scions of Mars turned their eyes to the Warp, seeking breaks in the near-constant storms within to send out expeditions. Few ever survived. Then, in the late 29th millennium, the man only known as the Emperor sensed the impending doom of the Eldar, and he accelerated his plans to step into the forefront of humanity. Using an early template of what would become known as the Space Marines, the Emperor conquered Earth, renamed it this time to Terra, and swiftly conquered its moon Luna. When the Warp convulsed and tore open due to the folly of the Eldar, the Emperor knew humanity's time had come to reach the stars once more. Taking advantage of a Martian prophecy, he quickly made an alliance with the Red Planet and finalized the genetic product that he had labored on for centuries: the primarchs. The primarchs were 20 superhumans constructed from the Emperor's very own genetic material. Each primarch was capable of being an exceptional statesman, general, and diplomat, and from each primarch's genome he developed a new super soldier, the Legionis Astartes, the Space Marine. As the primarchs grew within their tubes within the Emperor's gene labs, thousands of Terran men were genetically modified into Astartes. Deep within the Warp, sinister eyes watched and feared the intentions of the Emperor, and in a single breach of the containment fields of the Primarchs, the dark gods of the Warp flung all 20 of the Emperor's most precious creations throughout the galaxy. Nevertheless, in 793 Millennium 30, the Age of the Imperium officially began with the launching of the Great Crusade, a mass expansion that lasted over 207 years. 18 of the Primarchs were found and subsequently reunited with their Space Marine legions, taking humanity's expansion ever onward. At its peak in the opening days of the 31st millennium, over 4,000 primary fleets and 60,000 secondary fleets were spreading the will of Terra to the stars. In the nightmarish realms of the warp, however, the dark gods of chaos watch and set in motion plans that had been forming since before humanity even learned to walk on two legs. As the crusade reached its peak with the conquest of the Orc Empire on Ulanor, the Emperor turned over control of the military to his favored primarch, Horus Lupercal. Only a short time later, preying on the personality flaws and using proxies long present in the Legion, Horus was wounded and then deceived by the powers of chaos. Using visions of the future, of a humanity steeped in horror and superstition, the dark powers of the warp convinced Horus that the Emperor sought to become a god, with humanity turned fully towards his worship. It can be said that the Chaos Gods never once lied to Horus, they just left out one simple truth. This future would be Horus's fault. The deceit culminated in the 7-year-long war known as the Horus Heresy, which began with the betrayal of Horus and 8 other primarchs and ended with the death of several primarchs, the destruction of several worlds, billions if not trillions of deaths, and worst for humanity, the fatal wounding of the Emperor in the final battle over Terra itself. In his last moments where he could still speak, the Emperor gave specific instructions and was bound into the life-sustaining psychic amplifier known as the Golden Throne. It is here, even now, the Emperor sits, sustaining a psychic beacon known as the Astronomicon, which enables the ships of the Imperium to guide themselves through an increasingly turbulent warp, like a lighthouse in the dark. Ever since the interment of the Emperor on the Golden Throne, his dream has turned into a nightmare. His hopes for a secular Imperium driven by reason and driven by the betterment of all mankind was shattered alongside his body. For 10 millennia there has only been war, and a rapid descent into fanaticism, repression, and deprivation. In a cruel twist of irony, the Emperor has become the god of the Imperium, with the holy book of his clergy being written by the first traitor of his Primarch sons, Lorgar Aurelian. The Imperium of the late 41st millennium has been dying a slow death of 1,000 cuts, never able to heal from the wounds inflicted by Horus. Due to sheer stubbornness, the Imperium has continued, when by every metric and reasoning it should have collapsed under the stresses it endures long ago. While the Imperium is strong enough to easily and hilariously destroy any threat that would come to it alone, it currently finds itself beset on all sides. Whether it be the corruption of chaos seeding rebellion and warping the very minds of its citizens, warp storms that cut off entire sectors from contact, or the invasions of, or subversive tactics of, xeno-species, the Imperium has been bled white countless times and continues to bleed. Intended by the Emperor to become a paradise of science and prosperity, the Imperium is now driven only by the continuation of perpetual warfare, where most of its citizens live merely as cogs in the great war machine. At the heart of this war machine is the Departamento Minatorum, the organization responsible for the deployment and supplying of the Imperial Guard, made up of the men and women of the Imperium, drawn from worlds where the horse is high technology, as well as worlds covered in the massive industrial city complex called Hives. The Guard is the main combat force of the Imperium, referred to as the Hammer of the Emperor. The Guard exists in numbers that are beyond counting, easily able to bring more bodies to a war zone than their enemy has ammunition to shoot at them. There are several operations where the presence of the Guard is recorded in tens of millions, and this would only be one war, where hundreds are currently ongoing. The regiments of the Guard are highly specialized due to restrictions placed on combined arms due to the Horus Heresy, and while this does weaken the individual regiment, it strengthens the army, with many planets known throughout the Imperium for the qualities of their troops, such as the Death Corps of Krieg, the Armageddon Steel Legion, the Harakone Warhawks, and the Mordian Iron Guard. An engagement with the Imperial Guard is just be subjected to volley after volley of lasgun fire, while the thunder of tanks and artillery bring the doom of wolves. While the Guard may be called the Hammer of the Emperor, the Scalpel of the Emperor will be the Space Marines. Genetically modified to be precision instruments of war, the Space Marine is recruited as early as 8 years of age and often no older than 13. The trials recruits go through are often lethal, with planets of billions only producing one suitable recruit. After years of genetic modification and training, A Space Marine is a being over 8 feet tall, weighing over 700 pounds, with reflexes fast enough to slap aside bullets, a running speed that is faster than a horse, the ability to withstand catastrophic physical damage while remaining combat effective, as well as a myriad of other physical and mental strengths. Even being in the presence of a Space Marine sends unprepared mortals into a state of fear and anxiety known as transhuman dread. Just to make it perfectly clear how powerful a force the Space Marines are, I will now cite my favorite lore master. Sending 1,000 Space Marines to subdue one rebellious world is much like beating a mouse to death with a fully loaded dump truck. They hold a special position of near total autonomy within the Imperium, intervening where and when they wish, guided by whatever reasoning they choose. There are few who would even dare give orders to them. As the Guard holds the planets of the Imperium, the task of holding space falls to the Imperial Navy. Imperial warships are often the avatar of the Imperial way of warfare, focusing on sheer tenacity, brutality, and firepower. Clouds of strike craft and microcannons that fire weapons which can lay waste to planets, as well as precision energy weapons known as lances adorn the heavily armed vessels, some of which have been in service since the Great Crusade. The fleet ranges in size from the 1.4 kilometer long Claymore-class frigate to the awesome power of the Retribution-class battleship, which stretches 8 kilometers from bow to stern. It is also worth noting that most of the vessels in the Imperium are capable, in one form or another, to deliver the ultimate sanction upon a world. The Adeptus Mechanicus are the keepers of technical knowledge, and as such their forces contain some of the most powerful weapons known to the galaxy at large. After signing the Treaty of Mars with the Emperor, the Mechanicus is the only institute in the Imperium to hold any real semblance of religious autonomy. In return, the Mechanicus supplies the Imperium at large with ships, weapons, and support. The most notable contribution of the Mechanicus comes in the form of the Collegia Titanica, which fields the Titan legions. Massive walkers, the Titans are the most powerful land vehicles in the Imperium. The ground shakes under their steps, and the weapons they use are the size of city blocks, which can lay waste to any enemy that would dare show itself. It is said that the only threat to a Titan is another Titan. The Adeptus Ministorum, also known as the ecclesiarchy, rose to its position in the Millennium following the Horus heresy. Originally, by the Emperor's decree, religion had been outlawed, but due to the horrors of the Horus heresy, humanity began to slip. The most powerful of these religious cults, the Temple of the Savior Emperor, spread rapidly. By the 32nd millennium, it had been officially recognized as the state religion of the Imperium, even if only half-heartedly, with most considering the Emperor the greatest of all men, but still just a man. In the 41st millennium, however, worship of the God Emperor of mankind is not only expected, it is enforced at gunpoint. Or, in certain cases, flamers. The ones holding these flamers are some of the most fanatical servants of the God Emperor of mankind, the Adeptus Sororitas, or the Sisters of Battle. This female-only cadre of warriors is perhaps the purest souls of the Imperium, and act as the military arm of the ecclesiarchy. Tasked with the destroying of the heretic, the power-armored sisters are zealous beyond reason. The ecclesiarchy also maintains the Schoola Progenia, training orphans of imperial officials. The name of some of these orphans are legendary. But of all the organizations of the Imperium, from the Departamento Assassinorum with its cadres of specialized killers, to the massive bureaucratic machine which oversees the vast majority of imperial functions, the Administratum, while the Xeno might fear the coming of the Imperial Guard, the Astartes, and the Imperial Navy, while the heretic might fear the power-armored fist of the Sororitas, and while the mutant might fear the mechanical footfall of the Mechanicus, there are few throughout the galaxy that do not fear the coming of someone bearing the mark of the Imperial Inquisition. The Inquisition essentially answers to no one, defending the Imperium by any means necessary, using means that are often unnecessary. Not even the ruling body of the Imperium, the High Lords of Terra, can refuse an order of an Inquisitor out of hand. Even the most friendly, open, ignorant, and talkative of Imperial citizens knows to keep silent when an Inquisitor is near. least a single unguarded word mark them as a person of interest, or even worse, mark their planet. Inquisitors have the power to unleash the ultimate sanction upon a world, exterminatus, the cleansing of all life, from mass sterilization to the horrifying Life Eater virus, all the way to the cracking of the planet itself. This order can be given for reasons that require no explanation. Yet, despite the assembled might of all these forces and more unmentioned, the Imperium's power is only holding on by the sheer tenacity it has displayed in these past 10 millennia. What was once an ordered government has become so backlogged from handling war after war unceasing that entire worlds are lost for years before their absence is even noticed. For every threat that is extinguished, 3 more of equal or greater strength reveal themselves. Where once there was hope, it has been extinguished, buried, and lost. Chaos rises from the gaping maw left by the destruction of the Eldar. The savage orcs attack in even greater numbers than before. The remnants of the Eldar themselves pursue goals both sadistic and unknowable. The sands of long-dead worlds stir with the re-emergence of the ancient terror called the Necrons. From the dark void between galaxies, arriving in living fleets with numbers beyond comprehension, are the Tyranids, who leave nothing but barren wastelands in their wake. And all the while, younger races nip at the heels of the Imperium, constantly seeking to advance their own position within the wider galaxy at the expense of a power that seems too busy to turn its gaze upon them. The Imperium endures, but its existence stands on the edge of a knife, the darkness of its existence born out of pure necessity, unable to address its glaring weaknesses in the face of a hostile and uncaring galaxy. Billions of guardsmen wage war on thousands of worlds, dying to grant the Imperium even the merest fraction of a second. Thousands of vessels engage each other in the darkness of the void, with every ship lost harder to replace. The Space Marines fight ever longer odds, throwing themselves at the enemies of man. All the while, the Ministratum and the ecclesiarchy groan under the strain of sustaining the Imperium's supply and its very soul. To be a human in the 41st millennium is an existence spent in darkness, ignorance, and superstition, where your life is valued less than the machines you run, the space in which you live in, or the gun that you fire. It is a life at the mercy of an organization that simply does not have time, or in some cases has no more will to care. It is a time of brutality, slaughter, and death. It has been this time for the last 10,000 years, and it grows ever worse. Yet, for every member of the Guard who dies, 2 more stand zealously in their place. The vessels of the Imperium, in many cases held together by nothing more than prayer and incense, drive in at top speed to deliver broadsides into the enemies of man. The Astartes fight on with greater zeal than ever, and even though the bureaucratic hell of the Administratum seems to move glacially, the enemies of man know full well when its eye rests upon them. The warp, in all of its insanity, may echo with the laughter of thirsting gods, but on every world of the Imperium, echoing in the halls of every ship, and thundering from the throats of untold trillions, is a single defiant reply to the darkness that threatens to extinguish the light of humanity forever.
Abandon reason! Know only war!
That's not it. Let me try again. One more time.
Drive me closer. I want to hit them with my sword.
I will find it eventually.
Heretic!
This frog is awesome, but that's still not it.
For the Emperor!
There we go. Thank you guys for watching my lore video. This is the first one I've ever tried to do. This is going to be an addendum. This isn't going to be common to the rest of the videos I put out for lore. I'd like to extend a special thank you to Hot Dog. He's a subscriber on the channel, and he provided the new icon of my channel, as well as anytime I do a lore video, that's going to be front and center. Aside from that, this was a very intensive process. I am going to be coming up with ways to kind of shorten the amount of time it actually takes to do one of these, because when I was sitting here doing it, it was just taking so long to get things done. And I actually added in the jokes at the end because I needed to. But I really do appreciate you guys for watching this. The next lore video I do is going to be on the Damocles Gulf Crusade. So I hope to see you guys then, but there's a lot of stuff for me still to do on my channel, so I will see you guys next time.